Hello everyone, welcome to StudyTravel TV Live, a show of news, statistics and opinion. I'm Matthew Knott, news editor of StudyTravel Magazine.
Hello everyone, I'm Nicola Hancock, editor of StudyTravel Magazine. Before we get started, for the best viewing experience, please put the call-in side-by-side speaker view. You will see an icon in the top right corner where you can select the view.
And we are delighted to welcome you all today to this episode of StudyTravel TV Live. In today's broadcast, we'll begin with a news story, and then we will be joined by our guest this week, Marcela Osorio, Executive Director of Colombian Agency Association Anex, and Christopher Mediratta, President and COO of ILSC Education Group.
If you have any questions for the presenters or guest speakers or comments on the stories, please do post them in the chat box and we will read them out at the end. A big thank you to the sponsor of this episode, Londonist.
Okay, then let's take a look at our first story. And Into University Partnerships has opened a new University Access Centre, or UAC, in Jakarta, Indonesia, the latest stage of a strategy to open 14 in-country hubs in key recruitment markets by 2023 to support local agents, students and partner institutions.
The new centre, located in the Puri Indah in the West Jakarta Central Business District, will bring together recruitment partners, local marketing teams and on-site university representatives under one roof to offer a complete study abroad solution for students in a world-class facility right in the heart of Indonesia, Into University Partnerships said.
Into added that Indonesia was one of the fastest growing markets for international student mobility and that it expected numbers to rise now that COVID-19 restrictions have been lifted.
The new centre will provide in-person seminars for students, masterclasses with employers and sessions with current students and alumni. The Jakarta UAC will also be a test centre for the computer-delivered IELTS exam in partnership with the British Council. Into has already opened UACs in Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi in Vietnam and expects to open further hubs in Bangkok, Bogota and New Delhi later this year. The company said it was investing $17 million to create 14 hubs by the end of next year.
Okay, so at this point, we'd like to introduce our guests for this week, Marcela and Christopher. Hello, both of you. Thank you so much for joining us. So Christopher, this is an interesting development in the pathway sector. What is your interpretation of these kind of in-country hubs and what they do? And do you think they're a good thing for local agents?
I think, first, thank you very much for having me. Really appreciate it. I think the in-country hubs represent a really good opportunity to open study abroad opportunities and introduce study abroad opportunities to a greater market. I think the challenge for companies like Into when you go in market is how do you make sure that you're still balancing your English centers at your partner institutions overseas. And we also know that English acquisition is stronger when you're in a full immersive environment, not just in the class. And I think that continues to be a differentiator of the hubs and compared to online that we offer in all of our centers in Canada through our merger with ELS in the United States and in Australia. I think the idea for agents of bringing the hubs is a positive one. In fact, at ILSC and Greystone College, we're starting to bring our registration teams in market to support our agents and to support our students and their families as they're making the decision by responding to applications faster, being able to respond in the students' L1 in their market. And I think that makes a better experience rather than mailing it off to a university or language or college center and waiting for a a long return. I think that idea of critical in-market timely response in L1 is a good one, and that should open up the market for more students globally.
Great, thank you. ILSC offers several pathway programs in Australia and Canada. So what's new in this sector for your company, Christopher? And do you have any development plans that you can share with us?
We are really excited by the return of language students in ILSC and ELS destinations in Canada, the United States, and Australia. I think that's helping to rebuild our traditional pathways, and there's certainly a lot of demand for the traditional model, and we're seeing students do that. In addition to that, we're seeing more students start their journey online, potentially starting in home country for a period of time before starting their immersive journey. On the college side, in Canada and in Australia, we're seeing an opportunity for pathways for our graduates in college to articulate to a public college or university for a bachelor's or a postgraduate degree, or continue on to higher education in Australia as well through an advanced diploma or a bachelor's. And I think that represents it's a more complex journey for the student to build, but one that we can start helping from a language pathway, which is the traditional ILSC pathway into Greystone College or into our partner institutions. And now the pathway continues from our college sector into higher education.
Thanks, Chris. Marcela, the same question to you about the hubs. What's your feeling about these, and do you think they're good for agents? It sounds like you've got one on its way in Colombia.
Yeah, it's really good. I think because the time zone and everything helps a lot, and make easier the time answering. So it's a great idea to this development for the industry, and the response and the quick answer to the students. That's very important right now. It's something that we needed.
Thank you. And how popular is the pathway sector for students in Colombia?
It's really popular now. It's something that helps a lot to our students, because some of them think that they can get in, and for that path they can do their dreams came true. You know, that everything can be more supportive and be more adaptable to the new culture, new education system, so they can adapt it, and then really at the end of the day finish as well as they can their program and have a great opportunities for their professional lives.
Thank you. And Christopher, again, we are seeing strong investment from multinationals in all areas of the study abroad sector at the moment. So do you think this is a good time for companies such as yourselves to expand their business and move into new destinations, for example?
Yeah, I think we're certainly seeing a 1.5 times demand, certainly for this year and hopefully into next year, based on forward bookings for us, because students had to postpone a lot of their travel. So making that investment in emerging markets or expanding our geographic footprint is something, I think it's a good time to do that. It's also a good time to take advantage of a slightly weaker office and real estate market to potentially do some campus reinvestments and upgrades as well. So I think looking to do that makes sense. And I think, like, if you go back to opening up in Jakarta and their expansion, that's opening up new markets and accessing new students, and it's investment into a pipeline and diversification, which will ultimately benefit the entire industry in our classrooms.
Thanks, Chris. And Marcela, what are the growth areas for Colombian students this year?
I think that IT file, it's very been have a growth. I think it's globally, because many of students are interested to develop that kind of things in different industries. So I think that IT is going to be growth, and because the pandemic be more global and everyone is talking about develop and technology. So I think it's a huge opportunity there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's take another a look at another story now. Members of Language Provider Association English USA are experiencing a recovery in international student enrolments in the current year, according to the results of a flash survey, with growth highlighted from several markets and from short-term students.
The findings were presented during a session at the 2022 Education USA Forum held earlier this month, where Cheryl Delclagood, Executive Director of English USA, spoke alongside representatives from the Institute of International Education and the University College Intensive English Programs.
The survey of English USA members, conducted in July 2022 and completed by 96 institutions, found that around 64% reported an increase in enrolments for spring 2022 compared with spring in 21, while around 20% remained steady.
English USA represents different types of accredited English language providers, including university-based English programs and private sector language schools. And Cheryl told StudyTravel Magazine that the trends in the survey were fairly consistent across all groups.
Haviva Parnes, Compliance and Academic Director of EC English in North America and the current President of English USA, said that the resumption of short-term business has been a trend of the current year. Some of the overall positive trends highlighted during the Education USA session included a wider diversity of students, pent-up demand for study in the USA, and increased use of agencies for recruitment.
Commenting on growth source markets, Haviva said that the European market had come back and that Latin America had also been strong.
So Marcela, what's demand like for language courses in the USA from students in Colombia? We've previously heard about visa delays being a problem for this market. So have these affected the number of Colombians traveling to the States?
Okay, the students always ask for the States because it's something that it's very close to our culture. But when they ask for all the extra benefits that they can have, most of them change their minds and go to other places, unfortunately. But some of them still have the idea to go to the States because they have family there, and the accommodation expenses and living expenses can be less for them. But yeah, I hope that this change. About the visas, with the times for student visas is okay now. But when we have like a wave of rejections affect to the country perception. So we'll see what is happening with the embassies.
And is there anything else that's affecting demand for the USA among Colombian students this year? So visas aside?
From the embassy, no, I think that the exchange rate, the currency exchange rate, it's a big issue now. Between Colombian pesos and US dollars, it's very, very expensive for us. So if you compare with other places, with other currency, can be more expensive. So that affect a lot for take the decision to go to the States or other places.
Thank you. Christopher, which destinations are showing the strongest recovery for ILSC schools this year?
So it actually varies quite a bit by center and type of market. So if we start in Australia, and for us, we're always using it and have for the last 2 years, 2019 as the benchmark, the last full year of kind of regular operations. In Australia, the language sector, the ELSC sector for us by the end of the year should actually exceed 2019 numbers, which has just been a spectacular growth through this year and wonderful to see. I think the VET, or the vocational sector in Australia, because of the borders being closed for 2 years and the ELSC students having moved through VET and into higher education pathways, that's going to take a little longer, and we expect that to regenerate in 2023 and 2024 as the ELSC students graduate, and a portion of them may look to continue their higher education pathway in Australia. And Australia is benefiting right now from a low dollar and work rights, which I think is driving demand on the ELSC sector. And a little bit different to what we're seeing in the US with the dollar, as Marcela mentioned. It's quite a big benefit in Australia. In Canada, for language, for long-term students or high-stakes students, so pathway students, including groups that are studying with us for a prolonged period of time, that market's largely come back to 2019 or slightly below. What we're seeing that didn't come back this year was the short-term students. So as Haviva mentioned in her quote, we're starting to see that this year in 2022. A lot of groups sat on the sidelines. They sat on the sidelines, uncertainty of travel, high airfare, visa processing delays in Canada. And I think we expect that market to rebound in 2023 and 2024, which will bring us back to 2019 volumes. I think for the college sector in Canada, was one of the first to come back as borders opened in late 2020, early 2021. And for us, those volumes are now at or exceeding 2019. In the US, it's this through our sister school, ELSC, starting to see stronger demand. Students have to get through visas. Students have to deal with the high dollar, but they are very much wanting to come to the United States and study at our 12 centers throughout the United States. So very excited about that. I think globally, all countries at varying times have struggled with visa applications and being ready for what we experienced this year. And I think some of the growth we were anticipating has been hampered by slow visa processing in all of our key markets. And we thank Languages Canada, English Australia, English USA for helping to advocate the countries to make strong investments and to improve visa processing. Because it was a shame we had registrations in the system that couldn't start this year because they ultimately were delayed. And we know from our affiliations on the various boards that seemed to happen sector-wide and in multiple different countries.
Oh, thank you. There's some very positive news there.
Okay, let's move on to the next story. Navitas, a global education provider headquartered in Australia, has announced charitable organisations it will partner with in 2023 as part of its commitment to transform lives through education.
The Navitas Educational Trust, or NET, the charitable arm of the provider, has selected 4 organisations, each with an education focus, to help bring about change where it is most needed.
The charities include CAMFED, or Campaign for Female Education in Africa, the English for South Maluku project in Indonesia, Adara Developments, remote education work in Nepal, and Classroom of Hope in Cambodia and Indonesia, which provides school improvement training to directors and senior teachers at schools in rural Cambodia.
Since it was founded in 2013, the Navitas Educational Trust has donated more than $2.5 million to educational projects around the world, and funding has helped to build schools, provide scholarships, and improve access to education in some of the remotest places on Earth.
So, Christopher, charitable endeavours such as these are not new in the study travel industry, but with the current global inflation affecting business margins, how much of a priority do you think these charitable endeavours will continue to be for large corporate companies?
I hope they continue to be an important part of every company's go-forward plan. At ILSC and Greystone College, we continued even through the pandemic to set aside $1 for every registration to promote our Learn to Earn program in India, helping disadvantaged students gain language skills and experience in order to further their education and improve improve their opportunities. And I think those initiatives hopefully have a chance to expand and continue to be part of the global language and travel and study companies. I think our students want to see that as well. They want to see that we are not just paying lip service to corporate social responsibility, but we're living that. We're doing it in the classroom through different initiatives. We're doing it by bringing in green leadership and sustainability in our vet programs. And we really need to do more than lip service. We need to show that. And I think that's a key to attracting and continue to attract students as we go forward. So happy to see what Navitas did and happy to report that we're doing similar initiatives to support that corporate social responsibility.
Great, thank you.
Marcela, what do you think? Are these kind of things, charitable endeavors, corporate social responsibility, are they important for Colombian students when they are deciding where to study?
Yeah, I think that students here and everywhere wants a better world. So this generation thinks in things like that, like be more, build a good community, the environment, everything that can be a better world, they matters. So I think it's important that the agencies as well can tell them what the institutions do for the community, for the world, and I'm pretty sure that they take care on that.
Thank you.
Good to know. Right, we'll take one more story to finish. Japanese Agency Association JAOS has received approval to designate November 12th as Study Abroad Day and will launch a JAOS Study Abroad Award in recognition of the event.
Explaining the significance of the date, the association said that November 12, 1871 was the first time that 5 female students left Japan and accompanied the Iwakura mission to the USA for a study abroad program under the sponsorship of the Japanese government. JAOS said that prior to that, study abroad opportunities had been the preserve of elite men.
To align with the designation, the association has launched the JAOS Study Abroad Awards to promote the significance and value of study abroad. A presentation ceremony will be held on November 12th and will recognise the contributions of individuals who have actively engaged in study abroad initiatives.
The awards will include nomination-based awards, which will be selected by a 4-member panel from areas of entertainment, sports, politics, social issues, influencers, business, and study abroad advocate associations.
So Marcela, it's amazing to think that Japan can trace its first outbound female students all the way back to 1871 and certainly brings publicity to the study abroad sector in the country. So what plans does Anex have on the horizon to promote study abroad to students in Colombia?
Okay, Anex is planning to renew the brand and the social media strategy in order that the students can be integrated to this great industry and be more informed, be more responsible with their study abroad project. So yeah, when I can't tell more about it, I let you know soon. But I think that it's in the early next year. So I will tell you more. But also Anex is be part of an interdisciplinary group where are seeing how promote Colombia and Latin America as an study destination as well. So we are glad to be part of that. And because we are global now, all countries are in the point of view of all the citizenship. So it's a great idea to more students came to Latin America to study as well.
Absolutely, and we look forward to hearing more about the campaign. Christopher, is Japan a big market for your schools, I take it?
It absolutely is. We were very fortunate to see the Japanese market be one of the first actually to rebound in 2021 to our schools in Canada and our ELS schools in the United States. And now we're seeing that strong demand continue into Australia as well. In fact, as Canada looked at markets that have been big increases and a bigger percentage share, we're seeing Japan and Canada move higher up, and that is really nice to see. I think where, like a lot of markets, we didn't see as much short-term travel this summer. For youth, we expect that to recover in 2023.
A bit of breaking news today. I've heard that the Japanese Prime Minister has announced that the requirement for a PCR test will be lifted from early next month for those that have had a booster. So I think we're all hoping that will help to take away some of the barriers for the short-term travel from Japan as well.
I think that's great news and a great direction by the Japanese government, and hopefully that encourages more inbound and outbound flights, because we think flight availability and flight cost, as well as visas, was a key deterrent this year for the short-term market. And I think as that normalizes, that along with more favorable COVID policies will certainly be positive for future bookings.
Okay, that brings us up to the date with all the stories this week. So at this point, we'll open up to the audience to see if there are any questions for our guests or for the StudyTravel team. These can be on any of the topics or stories that we have discussed.
And we do have a couple. I saw one come in earlier as Marcela was talking about the USA. So we've got a question from Nicholas Taggart. When you were talking about when Colombian students ask for the USA and then they ask for extra benefits and start to change their mind, Nicholas has asked what kind of benefits, what are those things that they're asking for that makes them change to another destination?
A student looking for working while they are studying, or another one, it's the path of immigration. That it's something that they are looking for as well, but in the States are a little bit difficult.
And where would they sort of typically change to? Would it be Australia or Canada maybe?
Yeah, those destinations are the main popular here in Colombia. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and we do have another one from Monica Thompson asking, Christopher, are there plans to restart junior programs in the US in 2023?
Absolutely. I think both in the USA through our sister school ELS and in Canada, we expect to open more junior programs, particularly programs that are based on university or college campuses. For short-term students. For a myriad of reasons, they weren't open this year for all the reasons we've discussed. And I think in the US, we expect to have a few locations open in 2023, and we'll be publishing those very soon. And in Canada, we're going to be reopening a lot of university college campus-based programs, though those are programs for students aged 13 to 17, wanting to experience a short-term English language for us and an immersion travel experience that combines with activities on the weekends and during the week, and really gives them an opportunity as a taster to the country. And we hope that's their first of many visits as they come a couple of times as juniors, potentially as leaders in training, and then going into our college pathways or higher education pathway partners.
Thank you very much. Nicholas posted another question in there about junior, what are junior programs, but I think you explained that very comprehensively in your answer there anyway, Chris. So I think that's probably the end of the questions there. If anything pops up now. So that's the end of our audience Q&A, which brings us to the end of this week's Study Travel TV Live.
Our next episode will be on Wednesday, the 7th of September at the same time of 4 p.m. BST. Visit the Study Travel TV Live page on the Study Travel Network, which you can find under the magazine section in the menu, where we'll be announcing the guest speakers for the next broadcast, as well as a recording of this episode and past episodes.
So that's it for today. We'd like to say a big thank you to our special guest, Marcela. Thank you for your time and for your insights today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Pleasure.
Have a great week.
Thank
and
you.
Christopher, thank you for joining us, Chris, and sharing your thoughts. We look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Thank you very much.
And, good luck to you both at the Study Travel Star Awards, which is taking place next week. And thank you again to our sponsor
Thank you so much.
Thank you to our sponsor this week, Londonist, and thank you to everyone for watching. Goodbye.